This is Listen After Watching,
a podcast where we recap and discuss the most mind-bending, twisty, and thought-provoking TV shows and movies out there. I'm Adrian.
And I'm Alicia. Let's dive in.
Hello. Welcome to Listen After Watching episode 1.
Hello.
Kicking it off strong. I'm Adrian.
I'm Alicia.
And we are your hosts. We are siblings. We are best friends. We are going to be chatting about some of our favorite shows and movies. And we're really excited to kick this off with one of our favorite shows that we've ever watched. Well, I'll speak for myself.
Definitely. No, I agree.
One of the favorite shows we've ever watched, Severance, which we have been long awaiting season 2, and it is finally coming out next week. We're really excited to, this episode, just talk through season 1, give a little refresher, refresh our own minds on what the heck happened, so we are primed and ready to start talking about season 2.
It's been a long time. We looked it up before this, and we were like, it's been 3 years since season 1 came out.
Yeah. Almost 3 full years, which I don't know about you, but when I watched Severance, it was like one of those shows where immediately when it ended, I was like, I need season 2. I need the next episode, like, right now.
Yeah, especially, I mean, obviously also because the season 1 cliffhanger, which we'll talk about, is so intense.
So good.
Leaves
one of the
you
best.
on the edge of your seat. It's like probably one of the most perfect season 1s of a show that I've ever seen.
I agree. And I still talk to so many people who haven't watched Severance. And I'm like, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. I just met with a friend last night. I was like, you have to watch Severance. So maybe this podcast will get them to watch it.
The podcast will influence them to watch it. That's for sure.
Which is actually a good thing to talk about. Like this podcast is all going to be spoilers, like 100% spoilers. So if you haven't watched Severance season 1, probably shouldn't start listening here. I would say go and watch it. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's just one of the best shows. But yeah, everything we're talking about is spoilers. And then season 2 is coming out January 17th, 2025, which is next week for us. We're gearing up for that. We're so excited. We're basically going to do one episode of this podcast for every episode of season 2 that comes out. Yep. So you can expect a new episode from us every Monday after the Friday when the episode comes out.
Yeah. And also just a note, we're not just going to cover Severance. We're going to cover all sorts of different shows and maybe movies sometimes that are within this like psychological, thriller, cerebral, horror, like all of the things that we really just personally enjoy watching. But we're starting with Severance because it is the most anticipated thing, I think, that we are looking forward to.
I think it's the perfect show to kick it off. I just love when I watch something and it's completely blown my mind or made me like question everything, and I just need to talk to somebody about it. I need to chat through. I need to hear what everyone's theories are. I go straight to Reddit. I'm like scouring there. So this is really the podcast for people who just love to consume that type of media and need an outlet for it afterwards.
So let's get into a little recap of the premise of the show for everybody who has waited 3 long years, just like us, for season 2. So Severance is a dystopian drama that centers on the employees of this company called Lumen Industries. It's this huge corporation, very mysterious. We don't really know what it is that they do. We aren't given a whole lot of insight into what the company's mission or goal is. Our main character is Mark, who's played by Adam Scott, and he works for Lumen on the floor called the severance floor, where all the employees have undergone this procedure called severance. It is basically like a brain surgery where a surgeon inserts a chip into your brain that completely splits your consciousness into 2 separate identities. You have your outie, which is your outside of work self, and then you have your innie, which only exists in the workplace. And these 2 separate identities have no connection to each other. They don't know each other's thoughts, histories, experiences, anything. It's a very interesting concept, and one that I think as soon as I knew what the show was about, I was like, this is super twisted and weird. Like I'm totally hooked just from that. And as you might imagine, things start to unravel a little bit Mark, our main character, starts to get curious from a series of events about what Lumen is doing and what his innie is experiencing. And then on the flip side, his innie is working with his colleagues and they're becoming more curious and skeptical of what Lumen is doing as well and wanting to break through and be like real whole human people, which they aren't. They only exist at work.
Let's just dive into like some of the main premises of the show. I know I was like working in an office when season 1 came out, and one of the biggest things, the first like questions we were talking about is, would you ever consider undergoing the severance procedure? What do you think?
I think when you hear about the premise of the show without having watched it, it's like, oh, that would be interesting. Like, I'm really stressed sometimes about work outside of work. Obviously, I've had many moments where, like, my life outside of my 9 to 5 is consumed by thoughts of what happened in my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And that is something that, yeah, would be awesome. But then I think so we learn that Mark is a widower, and that's really the main reason why he decided to undergo severance. And I think I'm definitely not there. Like I'm not in a place today where I would be willing to do that, but I can't say that if I was in his position, I would turn it down. Like it would probably be really appealing.
I think for me, that was like, I don't know if like him being a widower, if I were in that position, if it would make me more likely to do it, because then you have no distractions. You know what I mean? He's like
Mm.
constantly just there with that reality. Like for me, when I think about severance, I'm like, oh, I could just always be my like vacation self or like my weekend self. And I never, it's like constantly the weekend.
I think they don't talk about this very much in the show, but I think he did it because he was formerly a professor and he like just could not do it any longer because his grief
Yeah.
was too much. So maybe he just like literally needed a job and didn't have any other option because his grief was too heavy.
True. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, like the only way he could actually like provide for himself is to just not even be
And
there.
he's living in subsidized Lumen housing.
Yes, which I feel like they don't talk about enough on the show. And he's like feeling so like fancy and free in his house. I'm like, this is definitely bugged.
Yeah, you would
I think
think.
that multiple times during the show. Speaking of, one of the other main premises of the show, or one of the big questions in the show, is what the heck they're even doing there. What are these severed employees working on that is
Right.
so secretive and important that they have to be severed? Do you have any guesses on what it might be?
I'm not creative enough to have any guesses about what it could be. Honestly, I feel like part of me is just like, I think they're just an experiment for other people. Like they're preying on these people who need like a moderate amount of income and have shitty outside lives and using them to test this procedure for like
Mm,
rich people who want to undergo it themselves for whatever reason, which we see happens in the show.
mhm. Yeah, with the senator's wife. That was so bizarre. And I kind of put two and two together like, oh, that's like, she's not. Those are two different people. Like, she's not even talking to the person she met, Mark's sister, when she's at the birthing camp. And then she runs into who she thinks is the same lady later at a park. And she's acting like, oh, like I have no clue who you are. Never met you in my life.
Yeah.
And that's when you're kind of like, wait a second. Is she an Audi?
Yeah. I think the most disturbing part for me with that whole exchange between Devin and the other woman is when she meets her in the birthing center as her innie self, she has this idea for the child's name as her innie, but then as her outie, the baby has a totally different name.
Yeah.
Like it just shows the, I think, the fullness of self of the innie
Yeah.
that doesn't get to be totally realized. Like they're even what they want for themselves doesn't happen because they don't have control.
But yeah, to bring it back to the employees at Lumen, the one thing that like makes me wonder about what they're doing is like just the nature of what they're doing. Like it's not just data entry or something. It's like they're looking at these numbers and they're choosing the ones that make them feel a certain way. I don't know. It's like this very mystical thing that they're doing. And it seems like maybe it's encoded or, but to be relying on like emotions or feelings is really interesting. Dylan has the one theory that they're cleaning the ocean. I think does he say that they're, like, killing the eels in the ocean or
I
something?
don't remember what he says, but yes, I know there's some ocean cleanup theory. And then there's, like, I mean, maybe they make a reference to they're what if they're, like, killing people by doing that work,
Yeah,
doing something
yeah.
bad. Then we also meet the only other department besides macro data refinement, which is optics and design, and their work is really weird too.
Yeah.
They seemingly are in charge of, like, art within the
Yeah.
department, like, the different paintings of Kier, whatever else is in there. Then we find that there are more people working at O&D, and they're, like, producing this stuff.
From these machines. I'm like, "Is this Amazon?" So we don't know for sure what they're doing at Lumen. It's definitely ominous. It's definitely they're giving evil. They're giving very evil. And we know for sure, like, especially from the last episode, that they wanna take Severance to the people and not just use it for their own workers.
Yeah, that was confirmed.
But let's talk about some of the very strange, weird shit that happens, especially within Lumen and this whole office culture that they have, which is so fucking weird. First of all, the goats. What is going on with the goats?
That was such a strange part of the show. Mark and Helly are walking around. They run into this room where this guy is just feeding baby goats. And he
Yeah, and
says to them, "They're not ready yet. Don't take them.
yeah,
They're not ready yet."
yeah, what
What?
the heck? What the fuck is that? And
Excuse
it's not
me?
even like this is not like a farm setting. This is like an office room with a bunch of baby goats and a guy in a suit.
Right.
That part of the show was very much are we still in reality? Are they, like, experiencing something outside of reality right now?
We're introduced to a couple of other strange things early on, one of them being the wellness sessions, which
Yes.
happen with Miss Casey. And basically, they're like, Miss Casey will read off different facts about yourself as your outie. And they may or may not be true. Question mark? I
Yeah.
don't know if they're
They
actually accurate.
they don't seem to be actually true, and I don't know what they're trying to measure with them. Are they trying to just instill a sense of self? I
That
don't know.
seems dangerous, like counterproductive to what they're trying to do. I saw something on Reddit that somebody had a good theory that maybe they were testing to see if there were memory leaks. Like if they respond a
Mm.
certain way to something that is read out to them, then it might imply that they remember it.
Yeah, true. It did seem like Miss Cobell had like her own agenda with Miss Casey and figuring out if there were memory leaks. So that
Yeah.
could be. And I guess that is why she was like, or Miss Casey would be like, please enjoy them all equally. Like, you can't even crack a smile or, I don't know, sigh.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
hear a fun fact about yourself. Yeah, the wellness sessions were definitely creepy to me. Also, they were like Miss Casey was, like, saying it a little bit, like, in a sexy way. She
She's
has a very
sexy, so
sexy affect,
Mark, we totally get it.
but
Yeah, yeah.
robotic, a sexy robot affect
A fembot.
that a fembot. But yeah, that definitely weird. One of their other practices at Lumen, the break room,
Mhm.
equally as confounding and creepy as hell. But that gets into Kier and
Oh
his
my gosh.
book and like this whole like strange quasi biblical
Yes.
thing that Lumen has going on.
The Kier
Um,
lore is very weird, and it is very much like a religious cult vibe, especially when we talk about the break room. I think it's like a shaming session, like they're
yeah,
made to feel like they did something incredibly wrong, and
it's giving Scientology.
it is giving Scientology. Yeah.
But also, like, the perpetuity wing, there's just so much about it that is fucking weird. And we've probably all worked at companies where the culture is just, like, a little off, but this is, like, next level, just, like, obviously cultish, obviously
Mhm.
wrong.
Right, and they can get away with it with the severed employees because
Yeah.
their outies don't know, but then we know that Miss Cobell, who is unsevered, is obsessed with Kier.
Yes,
to an
even like,
unhealthy degree.
yeah, in her like Audi home, she has like a whole, what's it called, shrine. One of the strangest parts of the show or the season was her singing that Kier song.
Oh
Just
my god.
no one asked for it.
That was
I won't do it
very
right now,
weird.
but Kier, wonderful Kier. I thought she played that character really well, Patricia Arquette. Just a
Yes.
creepy ass character. And in the beginning, you don't really know if she's severed or not. It's unsure. But yeah, definitely you find out that she's running around playing both sides and really, really interested in Mark in particular.
Yes. For some reason, we're not really sure why. It could just be by chance that she zeroed in on him. Who knows? Like a stalker situation.
I think she is trying to like kind of run an experiment with Mark and Miss Casey, who, of course, we find out is Gemma, his so called dead wife. Which leads to one of the best moments, I think, in the final episode when he realizes it. But it does seem like she's like super interested in those two and if they're recognizing each other and what's going on there. So I'm interested to see in
Right.
season 2 if they bring that back. I'm sure they will. They have to.
The last weird thing that I guess we should mention is the waffle party, the coveted reward
Oh my
of the
God.
waffle party, which leads to the cliffhanger and all of the climax of season 1, but it's this reward for MVP of whatever project they were working on, and Dylan earns the waffle party, and it basically is like you stay after work alone
Which, first of
and
all, can I say, no work reward should be after work. Okay, that's a punishment in any reality.
seriously, I know. But they had, so planned it that Dylan would stay after so
Yeah.
that he could enable what is it called? Overtime contingency,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
turns on
Okay.
their any selves outside of work. And, he goes to the perpetuity wing where that recreation of Kier's is it Kier's
House.
home?
Yeah.
And he goes there and has a waffle dinner. Beautiful. I mean,
Normal.
sure.
That's normal, I guess.
Normal waffle dinner, and then he is laid out on Kier's bed, and there's sexy masked people who come out and dance for him.
Yeah.
A weird dance.
Very, it's Cirque du Soleil. It's
Uh,
I and it makes you wonder like what's the full reward here? Is
because
Dylan about to
Dylan
get it
leaves.
on? Is Dylan about to get freaky with 5 bird people?
It's possible. What are these weird rewards that they're giving them?
Yeah, and why? Who came up with this? Okay, let's talk about some of the other ones because it's a melon party is one of them.
Mm,
What
yum.
is that about?
Those looked so good, by the way. Those little melon balls.
Wait, also the egg one, the egg party?
Yeah, the egg, what is it called? I forget what it was called, but, like, the dance experience.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the Defiant Jazz episode because Helly picks Defiant Jazz, which is, I think,
An
a good
interesting
choice
pick.
for her
Yeah.
character. Maybe if companies started doing waffle parties, I think morale would improve greatly.
I'll suggest it to the company I
Uh,
work for.
yeah, you should. Maybe a melon. Start with the melon. I think that's a good intro.
Ease them in with the melons, the eggs.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
eggs.
Which gross, I don't want the eggs.
Oh, Lord.
Let's talk about our personal favorite moments. We took a few notes
Okay.
on the things that we liked the most. I just have a few. I'll share my first one. One of my favorite, it's not even one moment, but all of the little moments between Mark and Devin, his sister, are
Mm,
so sweet. It's like, I mean, it's obviously sad. She's helping him. She's trying to walk with him through his grief. I think she sets him up with her doula and she invites him along to different parties and stuff. But their relationship is just so cute, very siblingy, like their sarcasm with each other. I just love their
yeah.
relationship.
That's a good one. I love that too. I think Mark has some genuine moments as an innie, but as an outie, that's like really his only like person. You can tell
Yeah.
it's like the only person that gets him, which
Mhm.
we're siblings, so I think we like especially are like we cherish that sort of bond. I will say Mark's sister and Rickon, I don't understand. I have no idea how this is
Girl.
happening. Girl, why?
He is so weird, and I feel like he's one of those people who, like, goes to England once and has some weird accent when he comes back. Like, what is his speaking voice?
He did it a month abroad. He's just such a strange character the whole time, and he's just like a douche, you can tell. But the really
Mhm.
interesting part is towards the end when Mark is his innie in the outside world and meets Rickon, he's like, oh my, he's like, he's meeting a celebrity. He's like
It's
read his
just
book and it's so funny to see like his innie like really appreciates all this stuff about Rickon that his outie just like hates and
I
can't
know.
stand.
I know, it's really so this was my actually my second favorite moment is when he's so starstruck that he's meeting
Oh,
Rickon and that he's his brother-in-law,
yeah.
and when I was thinking about it, I was like, it reminds me of when you're a kid and you're like, you read your first real book or, like, you get your first CD and you're like, "This is the best music I've ever heard in my life. Nothing else will compare." You're like, all in on Alanis Morissette or whatever your thing
That's
is.
so true. Yeah, because
It
it's the
feels very
first
much like
book
that.
he's ever read. As
Yeah,
like it, his innie hasn't been exposed to anything.
it was so pure. It was very
Yeah,
cute.
it was really cute. I liked that touch in the show. Let's
Here's some
see.
of
What
your
are
favorite moments.
Thanks for asking, Leash. Some of my favorite moments. Okay, I loved the relationship between Irving and Bert. I
And
thought
how
they were just so sweet. My favorite little moment is when Irving and Bert have snuck away together. Bert is showing Irving his little room full of all the fake plants. And then they have a little wait, is that when they have the hand touch?
I think
I
they
can't
touch
remember.
hands another time.
Oh, okay. But that's when like they want to kiss, but like
Yeah,
they don't. Irving's
yeah.
like, I can't.
Aw.
Um, but that little relationship is so sweet to me. I think Irving's character is just so sweet. His any character, he's just so
I
precious.
know.
Even though he's such a bootlicker and loves Kier,
Yeah, in his Audi life, he
he
seems
seems
like
cool.
s well, I wouldn't say that. I was gonna say he seems depressed,
He
but
seems depressed, but he seems a lot more just like fuck the man. I'm doing what I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do.
Yeah, which
And his
is bizarre for why he decided to start working for Lumen, but maybe we'll
right.
learn more about that.
Which we do learn that's why he's so tired is his Audi is just like chugging coffee and painting all night. So there
Yeah.
is a lot of memory leaking happening for Irving, we discover, because
Mhm.
we know that what he's painting is that hallway.
The
And
elevator. Yeah,
yeah, which we don't really learn what that's going to. That's another kind of thing that's left up in the air.
true. Yeah, I think that's where Miss Casey goes when she's fired,
Yep.
allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah, but that relationship between those two I think was just really sweet.
It was very
I don't
cute.
know. Yeah, one of my favorites. What's another one of your favorites?
All of Dylan's, honestly, little quips and jokes are so funny. He's,
Yes.
like, the perfect amount of comedic relief in the show, and I think one of the first things he says that was just so funny is when Mark is promoted. I think this is the very first episode. He's promoted, Mark goes up and has to speak in front of the rest of his department, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Why are you standing that way? Stand normal."
That is something a sibling would say to you, like,
And his obsession with the little prizes, like all his finger
yeah.
traps, is so
Yeah.
funny.
His caricature drawings. Oh my god, can we talk about how his final gift that he chose was that
Can't
little
remember.
paperweight thing of the whole team?
Oh, yeah, that was
Oh,
cute.
Dylan.
He's so
So
sweet.
sweet. Love that guy. One of my favorite moments, I mean, come on. When we find out, we finally see that photo of Gemma and we
It's
realize it's Miss
incredible.
Casey. I about flew off the couch. So good. So
I'm
good.
getting goosebumps just remembering it.
I know. I mean, yeah, that's just like one of the greatest moments in all the TV I've ever watched, probably.
I agree.
So yeah, hard to top that one. Do you have any other ones?
My only other one that was kind of like a mind-bending moment was when Milchick came to see Dylan in his house, and they had that
Oh yeah.
conversation in the closet, which is how they know that like how they found out that they can turn on their any selves outside of the office and it's not just
Right.
controlled by the elevator.
Yep.
But that was crazy, and poor thing, he sees his son run in, and then that's when he starts to unravel a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, you can tell that really affects him. That is
Mhm.
such a strange moment, like, where the worlds collide, and then seeing his little kid, yeah.
Very sad.
Wild. My last favorite moment, I will say, is when they find that card, or Dylan finds that card when they're visiting O&D, and they've kind of Bert has brought the MDR team in to meet his team, and they're standing in this giant ass room,
Mhm.
and they're like making all their things, and Dylan snags this card, and it's like a movement. It's almost
Mhm.
like a it's like a drawing of when you have, like, how to do CPR or that. It's like one of those drawings, but I'm just wondering what the heck that is for. It was just really, like, I don't know, it got me thinking of, did you ever watch the OA?
No.
Oh my god, you gotta watch the OA. Everyone go watch the OA after watching Severance. But basically in the OA, there were, like, these movements that were, like, could basically, like, change reality if, like, people did them
Hmm.
together in a certain way. So it just got me thinking, and I don't know. I don't know what the heck they're doing in O&D. Like, what are they making? And why is this card so important that Milchek had to go steal it back from
Confiscate it?
behind the
Yeah.
toilet? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Let's get into where we're left at the end of season 1, some of the things that we found out, the important
Yeah.
plot points that we wanna remember going into season 2. I've got a list here I'm reading from. So, number 1, Petey died seemingly from having reintegration surgery. So, we know that reintegration is possible, but it seems to be incredibly risky. And number 2, we know that a former surgeon of Lumen performed the reintegration on Petey. So there's obviously like some people, and we see this throughout the season a bit, but the severance procedure is like incredibly controversial.
Controversial. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of criticism of Mark personally from
Mm.
people that he meets. And then there's also obviously some internal things happening at Lumen where the surgeon and probably others are starting to question the morality of what they're doing. And another weird thing that we don't really get a whole lot of closure on, I guess, but maybe it just is what it is that the surgeon kills Grainer, who was a minor character, but a scary dude. He was the head of
Yeah.
security on the severed floor.
I mean, surely they're gonna bring back, they have to address what happened to that surgeon.
I would think so. And then we also find out that Helly R is actually Helena Egan, who is the daughter of the current Lumen CEO.
Mm.
And this, I think, explains a lot of why Helly's Audi was resistant to her innie's requests to quit.
Yeah, and it just makes you wonder. We don't get to see much about her Audi, like what type of person she is. So it just makes you wonder, does she really believe in what she's doing? Is she just doing it for her dad and for the company? It's hard to say. But yeah, another one of the great twists of the season.
We also learn, like you already said, Mark knows that his wife Gemma is alive and is actually Miss Casey. Very exciting. And then we know that Harmony, who is Miss Cobell, also Mark's neighbor, was fired from Lumen. But I'm sure her radicalism still lives on. So I feel like she might still be a character in season 2. I hope she is.
Yeah. It's interesting because she's fired, and then she's still so, like, it's her life. So, like, when she finds out that the innies are out, she, like, races to that Lumen fundraiser or whatever it is
Right.
party. So she's even fired at that time, but we don't really see what happens to her after that.
Right. Yeah. She's a
Mm.
wild one. Another thing that we know is that not only some Lumen employees are severed, but we know that woman at the birthing center was severed. So there could be many others. We just don't know. Then we also find that, like we talked about, there seems to be some memory leak. Irving's Audi is painting the Lumen elevator. And another thing that I saw on Reddit that I was reminded of is that Irving is the most tenured employee at MDR. So
Mm.
I'm wondering if maybe there's some, like, over time there's memory leak or if there's something
Right.
specific going on with him.
And it goes the other way too, because Irving, as his innie, is seeing that black paint like ooze into the
Yeah,
office, which we don't, at first, we don't know what it is, but once we like see what he's doing in the outside world, we're like, oh,
it makes a little sense, yeah.
yeah.
And of course, we know with the cliffhanger, there were innies who made contact with someone outside of Lumen. So Mark tells his sister, Devin, everything. Helly is at that big event talking about Severance and basically puts herself on blast. And
Yeah.
then Irving knocks on Bert's door, but we don't get to see what happens after that. It just
Yep.
kind of ends there.
Yes.
And then finally, the big question, we don't know what Lumen is doing. We don't know what MDR is working on with their scary numbers. We don't know what O&D is making and doing and putting out. It's still all a mystery.
Ooh.
Spooky.
Yeah, so many threads left from season one that I hope that we get tied up in season two. So many cliffhangers. I will say they have released the first 8 minutes of Severance season two, which is sort of like a sneak peek. It doesn't give us a lot, but it does give us some things to go on.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't watched that yet, I would say pause it right now, go watch it. It's just 8 minutes. It's already on Apple TV Plus if you want to go watch that. It does give us some tidbits. So let's talk about what we learn from those first 8 minutes. So basically, it starts off and Mark is back in Lumen. He's like going down the elevator. Elevator opens. He's back in those halls and he's running around for a long time. When I was watching it, I was like, wait, am I watching the right thing? So they say 8 minutes, but Mark is literally running around these damn halls in this maze for like 7 minutes, maybe. I'm like, is this the right thing? Are we going to learn anything? So he's running around. Finally, he gets to something, and we find out that he was looking for wellness. He gets to the little wellness corridor, and there's nothing there. Like the doors have literally been like plastered over, which is creepy as hell. There's also this mysterious, blurry being that we see in the hallway behind him watching him. It's like very fast. We don't know who that is, but ominous. And then
Mhm.
finally, towards the end of the sneak peek, we get some of the good stuff. Mark walks into the MDR office back where he used to work. To our dismay and horror, there are three new refiners. None of the old team is there.
This is so sad, but also exciting because I think we both really like Alia Shawkat, and it's cool
Yes.
to see her in this.
I was so happy to see her, the actor, Alia Shawkat, as one of the characters. It's hard to say, like, are they gonna. They could just even be in the sneak peek and never be in this. Like, we don't know. But it
Yeah.
was also super sad not to see the characters that we had in season one there, which we do learn a little bit more about.
Yeah, Milchick walks in to MDR with like balloons welcoming Mark back, and then they go
Yeah.
have the conversation in his office.
Okay, so we learned that Milchick has basically taken Miss Cobell's role. So basically, we learned from Milchick that it's been a few months since the incident where their innies escaped and told all the secrets. And the three of them became internationally famous in the media for what they did, which is wild. We also learn that Milchick blames Miss Cobell for treating the innies poorly, not giving them freedom. He seems like remorseful for locking them in the office, which is interesting. So it sounds like Milchick's trying to bring this whole new regime to the office. But what is not good news is Mark learns that he's the only one of the team who agreed to return, which
So sad.
is wild. And also, why would he agree to return?
I feel like maybe we can get into now what we think might happen or what we think
Yeah.
is going to happen in season 2.
Yeah.
So I feel like either Mark is plotting something, his Audi is plotting something and trying to make some change or liberate the other severed employees, or maybe there was just like, I don't know, some misunderstanding with the revelation he had at the end. This is one of my theories that I hope is not true, but I wonder if Devin is even going to say anything about the fact that Gemma is alive. I feel like that would be such a mind-bending thing to say to somebody,
Yeah.
but I would hope that she does, or that she even realizes that there's no misunderstanding or something.
Yeah, because what, playing it out, like, what would she even do? Who would she tell? Obviously, this has become a big media focus. So it seems like all the facts would be out there, including that they just took someone's half dead wife.
Yeah, we don't know what exactly happened with
Yeah, we don't
Gemma.
know how they got Gemma, if she was dead, if she was alive, what happened there.
Yeah.
But also, that made me think a really smart move for the show would be if Mark is still in cahoots with his old MDR people, but on the outside. So we
Hmm.
kind of get the same characters, but new characters on the outside because their outies are going to be different.
Totally different people. Yeah.
And then we also get a new cast of characters inside of Lumen. So
Mhm.
that would be an interesting way for them to go.
I wonder if they really did make the news with what they did internationally, as Milchick
True.
says,
Could be a
because
lie.
it could be a lie. And I noticed too that the newspaper that he flashes to Mark really quickly has like a bunch of stuff redacted that he like marked out, but it also is like the Cure Chronicle or something. It's like not it it
Oh,
doesn't seem to be like a news
an
outlet that
outside
yeah.
news source. Wow, that's a good detail. True. It could have been like they like completely covered it all up immediately.
What else do you think is gonna happen?
I feel like we're definitely going to see more of Helly. I feel like they cannot get rid of Helly because she's so, first of all, she's embedded in the company just as like the CEO's daughter. So I'm really
Mhm.
interested to see if she is in fact a good guy. And I think Helly as her innie is so likable and we just like
Mhm.
we as the viewer relate to her so much because she's like rebelling against this and is actually like just being very real and like honest and
Right.
raw. And so she becomes like a hero of the show. So I'm
Mhm.
really hoping that like this shitty Audi person makes a turn and goes against the company.
Maybe I didn't write this down, but maybe her old ass dad dies and she becomes the new CEO
Oh yeah, hopefully.
because he seemed kinda old.
He seemed old and he seemed like he needed to die soon.
Well, yes, of course.
uh, yeah, that would be great. That makes sense. That makes sense. What else? What's going to happen with Miss Casey?
I feel like she's just being held prisoner
I
somewhere inside
know.
Lumen.
I'm almost like one of the theories I was thinking is so it seems like Miss Casey, even though she's like interacting with these severed people, doesn't have an Audi,
Right,
you
it
know?
does seem like that. Yeah.
So it's like they're turning her on to be alive or like conscious just sometimes, and
Mhm.
otherwise just putting her away.
Right.
And so it makes you wonder, are there other people they're doing that to? How are they doing that? Again, was she like dead and they like turned a part of her brain on, or what the hell is going on there?
Yeah, and then we also know that this is another great part of season 1 when Mark discovers the map that Petey had drawn on the back of the picture of
Yeah.
them, and I
Mhm.
think that's when he really, like, starts to be like, "What is going on?"
Yeah,
With
why do I need
Petey.
this map?
Yeah, and Petey's map has drawn on it, like, some place where he thinks people are living, like, living spaces down in the severed
Oh,
floor,
I forgot about
so
that.
it could be that Miss Casey and other people are being kept there.
That's another great reason why Mark would want to go back in.
Right, to free
Like, I've got to
whoever's
get Miss
there.
Casey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think another thing that I am hoping we see, but I wouldn't be disappointed if we didn't, is we know that there is this mysterious board, the board of
Oh
Lumen,
yeah.
who comes in over the intercom, talks to like Miss Cobell and other people, and is in the ear of this other Lumen employee. And we don't know who they are. They never speak. They never speak directly to anybody. We don't hear them, at least. Wondering, do they even exist? Are they like a group of people or one person? What was going on there?
Yeah, did they even exist? I think they do speak like one time, maybe it was like a guy's voice. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no one even on the phone.
I know.
Because it's always
Yeah.
like Miss Cabell would like try to keep talking, and the assistant girls, the board has ended the
The
call.
board has ended the call. Damn, that's cold.
Dumb.
It's not something I really need to see, but I'm wondering if they'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think there are going to be so many loose ends that probably we never will get an answer for. The guy that they kill, what's his name?
Grainer, yeah.
Grainer. I have a feeling we won't get any closure on what the heck happened there.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much that happens in this one season. Like, it's hard for us to even talk about it all in one episode here. We're really just jumping around everywhere, just talking about some of the craziest parts. But
Yeah.
that's why I'm so excited for season 2 and to see where they go with it.
Me too. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. So that leaves us in a good place to say, please tune in next Monday. That's going to be January the 20th.
Inauguration day.
Oh, God. So this will be a shining light on your inauguration day. You're going to tune in to listen to us talk through what we thought about Severance Season 2, Episode 1. And
That's
the
right.
whole episode's going to be about that episode. So we're going to get a lot more nitty gritty into stuff and the details and our theories and all that good stuff.
Yes, we can't wait to watch. We're super excited. We'll be scouring Reddit and everywhere else so that we can talk about the
Mm-hmm.
most interesting things we find. And please follow us on Instagram at Listen After Watching. We would love to get some comments from y'all to hear what you think is going on or what your favorite moments were. So
Yes.
please share.
Yes, please let us know. We want to hear from you guys what you think because there's only so many theories we can think of. And also what you think we should watch next. We've got some good shows and movies coming out this year that we're excited about. White Lotus season 3 is coming out soon, so we'll be picking that up. The Last of Us. I'm really excited for the next season of Black Mirror, which we definitely will be talking about. Yeah, but if there are other shows or movies that are on your radar that you would love to hear us chat through, talk about our theories, talk about what the fuck happened, please let us know.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.